Was the ball stuck enough in the wall? Now, he is referring to the lodged ball that was not fielded in Game 6 of the World Series in the 9th inning. I will say right now, that was exactly what a lodged ball looks like. Once it stops, like if it doesn't move at all once it hits, you are topped 2 hands in the air. Now, we can talk about whether or not that's right, whatever, but that is a lodged ball. And the reason you're told not to play it, everyone's like, no. The rule says that you can pull it and then they can look at it after. Those plays, if you go and you field it, you are then showing them how the play could play out. So now they have something to work off of. That's the problem. That's why you don't do it. So say you run up, you try to field it, it's too stuck, you try to get it and you flail and you throw it and the guy gets an in the park or home run, right? Now you're like, go look at it. Now they have an in the park home run scoring 2 runs as the play that happened that needs to be overturned. Remember, overturning plays is different than verifying them. So if you throw your hands up, everyone stops and then they determine, but they can't project what happened now because it didn't happen. It's a win-lose. It's a lose-lose situation if you try to field it. Because then you have to field it perfectly just to get the play you would have gotten had you just thrown your hands up. So you always throw your hands up. It'll go in your way. They won't overturn it. Then you don't have a high chance of it being overturned from New York because the play never played out. So they don't have something to go off of. They have to start predicting things, and you can't predict double plays. You can't assume anything in baseball. That's kind of an underlying rule. So what you want to do is put them in a position where they can't assume anything, and that's why we're told to do that. So the rule says they can look at it again, but it's rarely overruled, and you don't want to give them the chance to just say it wasn't lodged. Because if they say it wasn't lodged, they'll still probably have to stay where they were. All of that said, it was lodged. So what percentage of starting pitchers do you think could have done what Yama did? 96 pitches and then 34 pitches the next day. Yeah, don't say 36, it was 34, okay? He only threw 130 total. 196 pitches into 34 pitches. I think you would be blown away with the number of guys who could do it, but you can't do that more than one time and maintain your stuff. Every pitcher is one of 2 things. They are a person who wakes up the next morning and they are sore as hell after they pitch, or they're a second day soreness person, meaning that next day they have like this looseness and adrenaline. Yeah, they're sore and yeah, they're kind of weak, but like their arm's still loose and they can, for a short amount of time, get that oomph on the ball again. And I think that's what Yamamoto is. I bet you he throws a bullpen on his 3rd day because the 2nd day he's so sore. So like, it depends. It's not about being able to throw that. Like any starting pitcher can be like, I am physically able to throw 150 pitches. Like in an emergency, if I needed to do it, I could throw 130, 140. Sure, I would lose probably sharpness at the end, like for the last 30 pitches or so, but I can physically do it. I can keep my velocity up and keep my stuff generally okay. Command would probably start to go away, but I could do it if there's no other pitchers available. If everyone else is dead and there's only one guy who can throw pitches still, I could physically do it. Pretty much every starting pitcher can do that. That said, coming in the next day, it's Game 7 of the World Series, like adrenaline, he's just running completely off it. And I'm sure the next day he felt like he got hit by a Mack truck. So you would be surprised the number of guys can do it, but to do it that well and be that sharp, that was what was so impressive. Like he was throwing, everything was moving just as much and he was just as sharp command-wise. That's crazy. That's what the impressive part is, not the ability to throw the pitches, but to do them effectively. That's a great question. How about that Louis Varland? Let's talk a little bit about why Louis Varland's crazy. We're just gonna get into the big storylines of it. Louis Varland threw 15 times in 18 games. So yes, those 18 games are spread out over just under a month. I think he threw 15 games in like 26 days. So that's doable. But what you want to average in appearances in the regular season are 12 per month. That'll get you to 70. That's the top echelon. That means you're throwing a lot. 15 in 26 days is an ass ton. And he threw 98 plus the whole time. He also gave up 5 homers. So like, this is crazy for a couple reasons. One, he's a workhorse, but also in the playoffs, usually, if you're a reliever and you're giving up homers, you're not gonna be given that many of opportunities to give up home runs. But like the unique, perfect storm of how things were going, like he's all they had, so they kept throwing him out there. So for him to throw that many times and give up 5 home runs is like unheard of, because usually they'll just be like, all right, you're done. Who's next? We need someone to get the job done. But like in that World Series, generally, which is really amazing to think of, there was like 16 total relievers and like 4 of them were trusted total. Isn't that crazy? All right, let's talk about Trey Savage. 22 years old, started in high A in Dunedin. Woof. I played there. Woof. I lived in Dunedin. Woof. Okay? And then he got there and then he became their number 2 starter. Impressive. He had 2 of the best big league starts I've ever seen in the playoffs. Dude, this playoffs had the best starting pitching I've ever seen. Maybe that's another video. So many ideas. So that is incredible. He struck out 11 Yankees and he struck out 12 Dodgers. And he has that style of stuff that is unlike anyone else's. He has a unicorn approach to the game. He throws directly over the top. Like a Felix Bautista arm height, I believe it's slightly lower, 64 degrees, and Felix Bautista is 66, but he's directly over the top with a splitter that goes straight down and a slider that goes straight down and also arm side a little bit, and then a 4-seam fastball that carries at 20. So he has the north-south game. He is as dialed in as it possibly can be. He reminds me of the Michael Wacha 2013, where they're like, we know what he's doing, but you just can't know how to hit it until you see him pitching. And the trajectory machines that they use to prep don't have that high of an arm slot. It's hard to get ready for that. So his combination of 3 pitches is really, really good. But what we saw is when he got hurt, he gave up home runs. He is going to give up home runs because he doesn't have east to west. He doesn't get off of barrels. He misses bats. And he's going to have to find a way to do that eventually. He's going to have a cutter or like a sweeper. He's going to have to throw like a splitter and a seam shifted changeup or like a sinker or something that starts to go this way, because once you just put people in the lane, they can catch you like Muncy did. Do I think he's a perennial Cy Young incoming? It's possible, but he's more likely like just a really good pitcher, right? Just based on what I saw. But his demeanor was incredible. So as impressive as I've ever seen. I was able to speak with him on the field in Seattle for the ALCS for the radio. And this is an endearing term. I'm not trying to throw any shade. The golden retriever energy, just like, I'm happy to be here. This is awesome. Like he was really taking it in. Just like, isn't this cool? I loved it. Dude, I was like, yes, it is cool. You're cool. I love this. I love that you're acting this way, not like, we'll do it. I'll go. Like he was just like, yeah, man, it's crazy. It's nuts. I don't know. I'm having so much fun. It's crazy. He reminded me of Mizurowski when he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I just throw it hard as I can. I love it. Yeah, Trey Savage. Cheers, bud. What do you make of the multiple Blue Jays running mistakes? So I want to start answering this question like this. The craziest part about this is, like, Jeff Hoffman isn't getting, I mean, yes, he's getting plenty of ire, right? People are like, Hoffman, whatever. But like, I thought it would just be like, Jeff Hoffman. Like everyone would just like focus on him. But we are so focused on the base running mistake of Barger. Like, even though we're calling it a mistake, when he would tie the game if that ball drops in, he wants to be able to tie the game. So he got deked a little bit, and yeah, he got caught out, but being aggressive there was like he needed to shade aggressive, which had worked for them and taking the extra base and all that kind of stuff. So he was just being overly aggressive. A great play was made, and then the pick by Miggy Rowe was ridiculous. The play but made on the back end was also incredible. So you got to give credit where credit is due there, but yes, Kike got him a little bit because he caught it a little more easy than Barger thought. So that was a mistake. And then the IKF thing, him being conservative there is what you're supposed to do. He was just too conservative. His lead was too short. He needs a short lead. He needed to take at least another big step. He was safe with that. The people who are saying just run standing up through the base, no one's ever going to do that. That's just not what you're taught to do. That is a mistake 95% of the time, especially if like you miss the bag, you slide on the bag, you hurt yourself. That's the big thing too. You slide on the bag, you step right on plate and you slide and you tear your knee up. It's not worth it at that point. Like, you know what I mean? So sure, he would have been probably safe in hindsight. But being conservative there, as Whit Merrifield and many great base runners and ex-players have said, was the correct approach. Because if he got doubled up again after it just happened the night before, imagine how the fans would be acting now. At least he's like, if I get thrown out at home, we still have another chance to score a run because there's only one out. I cannot get doubled up. And I understand that. That said, he still had a little bit more room, which would have made it moot. And I understand being too conservative at that point is not what you guys want to see. But again, hindsight, what is it? 2020. So I think that's what happened. What's it like being in an 18-inning game? Are we win yet? That's how it's like. It's so much. So I've watched one and I've been in two. Or like, I think I've 16-inning game and an 18-inning game in my life. When you haven't pitched, staying ready to pitch, it's like the most draining mental thing. Like you're just like, every inning, it's awful. You want to be one of the guys that is the leverage guy at the beginning. That's what you want. So it's very hard. And then once you pitch, you're like, okay, come on. We saw this with the Mariners, like the look on their face. I'm like, which team is going to be like, I don't care how this ends at this point. I just need it to be over. Who's going to break? Because the commentator's fully broken. And I know there's critiques of Buck and Smoltzy, but guys, imagine being two people in a room that have to talk about the same two teams for 6 straight hours. You'd be making stuff up. Also, you need to put some respect on the players in that game's names. That was the Will Klein versus Eric Lauer game, and very impressive stuff out of those two guys. And Yamamoto was gonna come in that one too. This playoffs was crazy good, man. I love it. Can you get some kudos for Willpower Klein? Yes. Congratulations, Will. You deserve that World Series ring. Oh, someone made a great point, Questley did, and I'm going to hit it real quick. What if on the IKF play is kind of silly because Miggy Rowe also kind of bobbled the ball, but what if Miguel Rojas just fielded it cleanly and threw it? It would have been close. Like, what if he also didn't bobble it? I understand that like that made him IKF have more chance, but he couldn't. He just did the best thing he could with the information he had at the time. And that's all you can ask. And I know that sucks. And I think that most people know that. And what's happening is you're grieving. And I get it. 12-year-old me was in my body just watching the Mariners blow it, man. Like, they did blow it. It got blown. And I've been in that situation. And I blew that game. Like, you don't want to blow it, but blowing it is what happens. And that part of me is like, grieving. People are grieving. And this is one of those things. It's such a good playoffs. Such a long time that grief is the right word for it. But man, the Blue Jays were so good. I think they were overall a better team, but the Dodgers experience took over. I think that's what it was. Why is bunting not done much, especially in the playoffs when bats go cold easily? I would argue that bunting is more common now than it used to be. But I think that we're gonna see more and more of that. Usually it's because of roster construction and the guys in the roster. It's a balance between, yeah, bats go cold, but big swings are very important also. So you like want more guys that have the opportunity to make a big swing, taking swings. So like it's one of those things like, yeah, we can't really hit, but we do have a bunch of guys that could go deep at any moment. Like, I think you need a little bit more bunting though. What happened to the old fashioned high chopper? It's 99.9999% of the time terrible. That's why. But we have, I think, the game is over efficient. We've gone too much in the efficiency side, so crazy stuff can't happen, which does define baseball a lot. I'm so glad the better team didn't win, Trev. I have terrible news for you. That's actually baseball. The better team doesn't win like a lot. Sorry. The Blue Jays were the better team. They also lost 68 regular season games, and they were the better team more than 68 times. That's kind of what baseball is. Like, that's why you can't buy championships. What's your take on the better World Series performance, Yama or Bumgarner? Ooh, that's interesting. I'm going to go Yama only because he didn't start game one. Because he didn't start game one and he did it against a more potent offense. But just barely. The Mad Bum stuff was crazy. Also, I think Mad Bum could have thrown like 10 more innings. So like he just ran out of innings. Had they gone into the 15th, he still would have been pitching. So, but those two for me are two of the greatest performances. You know, pry the ball out of my cold dead fingers, kind of like just gutsy performances in the history of the major leagues. The better team doesn't blow games 6 and 7 at home. It depends on what you mean by better, right? Are we going to go by like the team that won is better or not? Or is that oversimplified? By the way, they just got beat in game 6. They didn't blow that. They just got beat in that one. But they did blow the last one. The last one they blew. All right. Do you think that if the Mariners won game 7, we get a better or worse World Series? Worse. I think that the Mariners had the same issues as the Dodgers, but they just weren't as good. I think it would have been more of a Brewers situation. I think they would have just worn them out. It would have been like a bunch of 4-1, 3-1, 3-2 games. I think the Blue Jays had the best chance to win the World Series. Do the Dodgers repeat next year? I don't think so. They're getting older, and also they just went 7 games World Series. And here's another thing about baseball winning the World Series. When you win the World Series, you've been playing baseball for 8.5 months. You only have 3.5 months to rest. So the older you get, the more like these nagging things don't get resolved in the offseason, and then you lose guys in the regular season, and you have to have young guys come up and fill in for them. I don't know who those young guys are for the Dodgers, but like the era of Freddie and Mookie and these guys being like the core, that's going to start loosening up a little bit. And they're going to have to get reinforcements, but we'll see. We'll see. Of course they could. But yeah, it's interesting. Okay, Ernie Clement. I want to talk about Ernie Clement. Ernie Clement set the record for the most hits in a playoffs with 30, which is incredible. Dude, had that ball that Pages stiff-armed Kike Hernandez into the ground for landed, Ernie Clement would have been the MVP, and Yama would have been not the MVP because he gave up the game-winning hit. Isn't that crazy? Like, that was the difference. It was like, nope, caught it. It's you. You win. Which is sick. Like, that's awesome. Isn't that awesome? Ernie Clement was my MVP. Honestly, Barger, not too far. Dude, Addison Barger was a problem. He was so clutch. Both of their swings were so dialed in. They were hitting stuff. It would be interesting to see what him and Barger do next year and how big of a role they play. But like Ernie Clement, he gave me big Ben Zobrist vibes. And he looked like he was having so much fun. I don't know. I was really riding with him. I really was. It was weird because obviously I'm not like, ooh, yeah, go Dodgers. But I'm also, there's this little part of me that's like, Blue Jays, I'm mad at you. And I have this thing with Springer because he got me a few times and he's just tough. And the people who work with me in the office here are Mariners fans. So like they took it hard. So it was really hard to root for the Blue Jays. I'll always lean towards they have not won a World Series in 30 plus years. It's Canada. I like Canadians. The Canadians are awesome. Great fan base, great place to play. And it's different. And we haven't seen it in a while. It would be more fun to see that. And also like, I want to see a team that is like, okay, fine, we'll sign our superstar. And then they win the World Series immediately. I want that. I want that more. How about the Miggy Rojas homer? He is pesky, and I struggled to face that guy. I got to give the tip of the cap to him with the defensive plays and coming up big. That is the first time anyone has hit a game-tying home run in the 9th inning. Miggy Rowe, and then homegrown talent Will Smith taking it home, baby. Nuts. Remember when Shohei Ohtani got walked 5 straight times? Me too. Does Bo sign with the Jays? I don't think so. I think Andres Jimenez is now their shortstop. But Bo Bichette better get paid. It depends on where he plays, man. He's just not a very good shortstop. I think he's a great player. I love watching that guy play. He can hit. Oh my God, can he hit? But there are stretches where it is god-awful at short. Do you think they were overlooking Rojas for who was coming up after? Yes, absolutely. Isn't that crazy? What about Jimenez trying to get hit on the hand and then complaining about getting hit? Yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting. I was so confused. I was like, I think this is just a let's get some energy out here, boys, kind of situation. Like, you're going to get on base any way you can. It's up and in. He kind of threw his hand out in slow-mo. It looks way worse than it was in real full speed. It is what it is. But then he actually gets it, and he's like, dude, you just did it twice. You threw it twice. Like, what? I think he was getting defensive about that thing that he kind of knew he did. And honestly, I don't blame, like, this being a natural reaction because, like, I got to get on. I have to get on right here. Like, him kind of doing that and be like, ooh, I hope that didn't look too bad. And then him getting hit, and he's like, what? What, did you hit me because you think I'm trying to get hit? And then he's like, no, man. Why would I hit you on purpose? I'm left-handed. I throw 97. And up on deck is Springer. Why would I hit you? The first one was an accident, and then I made the same mistake. And so they were both like, oh, okay, all right. It was just funny because I was like, he's getting proactively defensive by the first pitch. And the other guy's like, why would I hit you? And I'm like, why would he hit you? That doesn't make any sense. And then it turned into like, but I'm going to get postured because we got to come back here. Like, sometimes you got to fire up the boys. And that's what it turned into. But at the end of the day, as that outside looking in, I was like, this is unnecessary. This is silly. Would they not consider playing Bo at second permanently? I think they would, but again, him changing positions is going to change his contract. I don't know who his agent is, but again, you only go to free agency once, usually, and he's young. He should get a big deal. That's going to matter. It's very interesting because he doesn't have a natural position right now, I think, for most teams. So how's that going to change things? Does that make the Blue Jays, who understand what they're getting, more attractive? Probably, but at the same time, they're like, but you were a shortstop before, now you're second baseman. We'd like to take a little bit less money. And he's like, I don't want to do that. Then we have a Pete Alonso situation. So we'll see. Trevor, thoughts on Braves hiring Jeremy Hefner? They got a good one. One of the better ones out there, in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Jeremy Hefner. He was the reason I signed with the Mets. He thinks outside the box. He knows his stuff really well, and he works really well with pitchers. At the end of the day, there's only so much pitching coaches can do, but I think he gets you prepared as well as you can be to pitch every day, and that is what you're looking for. And he also is very good at problem solving and thinking creatively on how to make you better. Cease, Framber, Ranger, or Michael King gets the most money in free agency. I'm going to say that it's probably Cease, followed by Framber, followed by King, followed by Ranger.